Okay, excellent. Now, before I start today's briefing, are all of you okay? Are you all well? Right? Did you all finish your homework and all of your assignments already? Okay, if you haven't, a gentle reminder that this weekend you should prioritize your oral revision, okay? But if you have some spare time, please remember to finish up the PSLE preliminary examination practice papers I posted on SLS. There were two, right? Okay, there were two papers that were posted. If you haven't finished them for whatever reason, please finish them up. And if you have some alternative answers that you feel you want to check in with me, right? Do not worry. I will look through your responses individually and I will inform you if your responses are acceptable, especially for the closed passage. Okay, right. So without further ado, let's go into today's session, which is primarily about oracy and revision. Okay, and along the way, if you have any questions, if you encounter any concepts you're not clear about, please stop me and then I will gladly explain it. Okay, so today is going to be mainly me talking. But if you have any questions, you all are welcome to pause and stop, right? Then later on, after today's session briefing, I would like to have additional practice sessions with you all in the course of the next few days, right? So if your oral sessions are on Monday, I will prioritize you on Sunday. If your oral sessions are on Tuesday or Thursday, I'll prioritize you on Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on and so forth, all right? Whenever I'm free, I'll give you that slot for additional practice. Okay, so let's go, right? So today we are going to be looking into how we are going to be very eloquent and very structured in the way that we respond to our stimulus-based conversation, and very expressive, very fluent, very accurate in the way that we respond to our reading aloud. Okay, so that's what today's session is going to be about. Okay, so let's go into the process. Now, when we go in for our oral examination, the most important period of time is actually the 5 minutes. Because the 5 minutes that you prepare, right, is going to make or break your confidence level, right? And you are given the passage exactly 5 minutes. There will be a timer, right? There'll be a teacher there with a stopwatch who will literally time you to the second. So you must be very sensitive and aware. In other words, don't just rely on the teacher's stopwatch. Use your own watch and set your own timer, or at least you pay attention to the time so you know how much time has elapsed in the 5 minutes. These 5 minutes are very important. You should not sit there and stare into empty space. What should you then be doing? Well, you should be doing the following, right? So in the first 2 minutes, right, always look at the passage first. Why the passage first? Because the passage is always going to be related to the picture. And the better you understand the passage, the more you are going to be able to predict what the theme of the picture is. Okay, the picture and the passage are linked in some way, thematically. So read the passage first. Then as you're reading, pay attention to the 3 Ps. Remember the 3 Ps, right? Punctuation. Look at where all the breathing points are, because your punctuation points are like when you surface for water, or rather you surface out the water to breathe. Okay, then your pronunciation, all your word endings, your end consonants, S, T, Ks, and Ds, be very clear where they are, but don't pronounce them to the point where it disrupts the flow of your reading. Keep your reading fluent. Don't stop, start, stop, start, just because of an S, T, K, or D end consonant. Read fluently. And then as you are going through the end consonants, right, also look out for like certain words in the passage that you want to emphasize, right? Words that are important, you want to emphasize, and also dialogue sections where the emotions of the characters must be expressed in a certain way. All right. Now, I would really appreciate if you all give full attention to what's happening here and not be scrolling through or moving through other screens. Okay, because again, I'm visible to all of you. You are also visible to me in the recording as well. So please try not to adjust any settings or scrub through any screens while I'm going through. Do I make myself clear, everybody? Please give me your full and undivided attention, right? Do not move your screens or do any settings while I'm going through this, all right? So again, the first 2 minutes, focus on the passage. As you read the passage, look out for the 3 Ps. As you look for the 3 Ps, also think about how this passage is thematically linked to the picture. Next 3 minutes, you want to look into the picture, and then you want to start to think, okay, what is this picture about? Is it about health and fitness? Is it going to be about like studying and planning my time? Is it going to be about performing and, standing in front of other people? Is it going to be about my hobbies and my interests? Is it going to be about environment and conservation? Is it going to be about any of these themes? And then I'm going to start to predict what kind of questions they're going to ask me. And I'm going to start to think about trees. In trees, what do I think about? My personal experiences. So for example, if the passage is about people, of different races, right, celebrating or playing together, then I might want to think about Racial Harmony Day and how I celebrate it in school, or International Friendship Day, or even National Day. Or if the picture is about a person, baking or some hobbies, right? Then I want to be thinking about, what are my personal hobbies, right? What are things that I enjoy doing? What's my CCA, right? Am I in art club, right? Am I in choir? What are the things that I enjoy doing? So whatever is in a picture, right? You must always start to link it to your personal experience. All of the things that you did in Sinmin in the last 6 years, right? Try to remember all the way from primary 1 to primary 6. The more experiences you can link to the picture, the better. So don't start to just look at the picture and think about the picture. Start to think about yourself, right? As you're looking at the picture, pay attention to every element of the picture. Don't let anything escape your attention. The date, the time, right? The location, right? The details that are in the picture, the various parts of the picture. Don't leave anything unattended to, and link all of that to your own personal experience. Your encounters and experiences are what the examiner is very interested in. So please don't forget that. Link it to your personal experiences. All of you have different experiences, right? Some of you are sports people. Some of you are aesthetic performers. Some of you are interested in science and math. Some of you are passionate about art. Some of you love music, okay? So all of these things are relevant. Link them to your personal experience, even your own hobbies, what you really love to do in your free time. Like some of you like gaming, some of you like listening to K-pop, some of you like going to the park for a jog, some of you love watching movies. All of that's relevant, okay? Connect your personal experience to the picture in the next 3 minutes, okay? And as you're doing that, think about how the teacher is going to ask you questions related to the picture and the passage. Remember, the passage and the picture and the questions to be asked are always linked. It's always 100%. Okay, later I'll show you the pattern in PSLE for the last 3 years. Okay, and then y'all can see whether you can predict that pattern. It's very predictable. Okay, so next, what do? Okay, I go into the 3 Ps, right? Okay, so y'all still remember this, right? I'm going to go through this very quickly. Punctuation, right? Punctuation, I pay attention to the word endings. And please be very careful how you pronounce words. Don't be in such a hurry that you cannot pronounce properly. Read at a sensible pace. Don't speed through the passage. Everybody, please look at me and say, don't rush. Yes, thank you very much. Don't rush. Hurry is your biggest enemy, because the faster you go, the less you get to bring along with you. I say again, the faster you go, the less marks you get to bring along with you. The slower and the more deliberate you are, of course, don't be like a tortoise, right? Read at a sensible pace, right? But if you read it at a sensible pace, you can pronounce every word clearly, and you can link one word to the other fluently, and you can read expressively, right? So clarity, fluency, expressiveness are the 3 things that all examiners are looking for. How clear your pronunciation is, how expressive you are when you read that word, and how fluent you are when you link from word to word. These are the 3 things. So punctuation controls that. It's the traffic light, is the breathing point. Next, please look into your person, right? So dramatizing your dialogue. Look out, there's always going to be at least 2 pieces of dialogue in the passage, 100%. There'll be somebody speaking and there'll be somebody else speaking. And one person will have an emotion, the other person will have a different emotion. Look out for what those emotions are and dramatize them. And I don't just mean read with a higher pitch. Your voice, your face, your body language echoes that particular emotion. If you're excited, look like you are very excited. Face excited, body excited, voice excited. If you're very angry, face angry, body angry, voice angry. Okay, dramatize the character's emotions and you will move from 8 to 10. Right? If you are moving from 8 to 10, this is the thing that moves you. Person. Okay, so pay attention to the dialogue, because most of you are good in your pronunciation and most of you are good in your punctuation, right? Pronunciation is just the word endings. Pronunciation is just word endings. Punctuation is just knowing where to pause. And then your person is the most important thing for most of you. All right, so pay attention to how you dramatize this particular passage. Okay, now end consonants, what am I talking about? Okay, I'm talking about properly pronouncing consonants, right? In other words, the S, right, moves. 8, right? The T sounds, the D sounds, right? Created, right? Created, right? I created a beautiful picture, right? I created a beautiful picture, right? So make sure that it's clear Okay? Make sure that you don't drop the consonants because you're in a hurry to read the next word, right? Next word, in a hurry to read the next word. Can you hear? In a hurry to read the next word. I'm clearly pronouncing my end consonants while at the same time linking it to the next word. Linking it to the next word. Can you hear my it? Linking it to the next word, okay? My speed, I'm not asking you all to match, okay? Because I have many years of practice. But slow down a little, you'll be able to do exactly like what I'm doing, okay? And then finally, please pronounce by practicing. You cannot get better at reading by using your eyes. You have to get better at reading by using your mouth. Okay? So please go and practice all your add consonants, all your words that link one to the other. The 2015 to 2023 passages that I posted in your SLS, go and look at them. They are the best examples you can use to practice your reading. Okay? So end consonants, and then of course, your pausing, your punctuation, right? Pause at the appropriate time. You only pause at a punctuation mark. I repeat, you do not pause at the end of a line. You do not pause in the middle of a sentence. You only pause at a punctuation. Punctuation stands for pause, right? So at a comma, then you stop. At a full stop, then you stop. You continue reading until you reach a punctuation mark, right? Do not stop at any other point unless it's a punctuation mark, okay? So also look out for exclamation marks and question marks because exclamation marks and question marks control the tone. In other words, if I'm very excited, there's an exclamation mark at the end, even though it's not dialogue, I must also sound excited, right? This was the last time he had arrived at this place late, exclamation mark, late, exclamation mark, okay? This was the last time he would arrive at this location late, exclamation mark. So you must control your reading such that the exclamation mark is heard by the reader. Okay, and question mark, who was he? Who was he? Right, the lift up in the question, right, is very important, okay? Because all of this will contribute to your expressiveness, right? When you bring the text to life by varying your pace and then your volume and then your intonation, which brings me to intonation, okay? Right, so what is intonation? Right, intonation is how you make the text sound interesting by reading up and down, right? Basically, it's the heartbeat of the passage, right? The up and down, the heartbeat of the passage, okay? So what do? Right, you rise and fall in your pitch to show different emotions, right? Both as the narrator as well as the characters. There must be a difference. Remember, narrator is level 0. Character is level 1 or 2, depending on what emotion they are living in, okay? Next, you need to adjust your speed. If something is very exciting, you want to be a little bit faster. If something is very, like relaxing and very, she's leaned back against the sofa and sighed in contentment. Slow down, right? He pushed against the door with all of his might, slightly faster because it's extremely exciting, okay? So vary the pace of your reading according to that particular part of the context, okay? Then, of course, accentuate important points. Remember, I said this was the last time he would ever be late. I emphasize late, okay, because it is an important word. Emotive emphasis, and finally, pay close attention to what's in the text. If the character is angry, if something exciting is happening, pay attention to it and read accordingly, right? So that's improving intonation. Next, dramatizing dialogue with speech verbs, like I already mentioned. These are all the things you need to pay attention to, okay? So remember, the speech verb controls the emotions of the character. Angrily, sadly, right? Irritatedly, right? So the speech verb or the adverb will control what emotion your character needs to be read in. So far, everybody okay? Am I going too fast? This is all nothing new, right? You all have all heard this from me before, right? Okay, we've done this a million times before. This is just to consolidate and remind you, and then later you can use these PowerPoint slides as a revision tool to recall all the things that I've just mentioned, okay? Right? Now, this is just additional tips for you all, okay? Okay, so these are things you can do just before you go into the oral exam to practice your mouth, okay? Because sometimes, you all get sore throat, right? Sometimes your voices get a bit stuck, right? So do a few things to practice just before you go into the 5-minute preparation zone, okay? Practice enunciating your word endings, T's, D's, S's, and K's, words that end with T, words that end with D, words that end with S, right? You just pronounce it, get your lips and your mouth warmed up to make sure that you can smoothly pronounce these words. Then experiment with different volumes, right? Remember the examiner is sitting across from you, so you want to project your voice, right? I strongly recommend nobody wears a mask, right, when you're talking. And when you're projecting, be careful that you don't put the paper in front of your mouth. Can you hear the difference in volume when I do this versus like this? Can you hear the volume? It's a huge difference, you know. This is like 50% minus, and this is like 50% plus, okay? So the same volume, if you unconsciously hold the paper up to your mouth, then you are blocking off like 50% of your volume. Don't do that. Keep the paper at a sensible 45-degree angle in front of you so you can look at it without lowering your head, right? But at the same time, not completely blocking your voice like this, okay? So be conscious of the position of the paper you're holding. Make sure you don't block it. Then that way your voice will be loud and clear. Okay, warm up your voice on that day. Just before you go in, you know, you hum to yourself. Right, when you hum, right, you're dislodging all the mucus from your vocal cords and you're warming them up, right, for speech. Okay, you don't need to do too many of them, right? Those of you in choir, you will know your verbal and your vocal warm-up skills, right? You would have been taught how to warm up your voices. But for the rest of us, just hum, it's good enough, right? Don't need to sing, just hum. When you hum, you'll feel your vocal cords vibrating, right? You put your hand here, you can hear that it's vibrating, right? When it vibrates, it removes all the debris around it, and then it clears up your vocal passages so that you can speak without any impediment. You won't suddenly, you know, lose your voice in the midst of speaking. So do a bit of vibration exercise, any pitch will do. And then, you know, as you do so, put your hand to your throat just to check that your vocal cords are vibrating and you're able to speak without impediment. Okay, drink some water as well, but not too much. Okay, so these are just some things that you can do to warm yourself up. Okay, now, oops, why is this here? Okay, wait, sorry. Okay, I need to, anyway, I'll just go here. Okay, so trees, now this is your picture, right? You're looking at trees, right? Okay, I've put in a few suggested stems you can use lah. So when you're talking about like a response to the question, right? So, you know, would you do this, or, you know, do you like to do this, right? You will clearly articulate by saying that I strongly believe, or I think, or I feel I would really love to, right? So be strong, be empathetic in your responses, then always support with reasons, logical explanations for your thoughts, right? Because, therefore, moreover, furthermore, firstly, next, finally, these are all connectors you can use to cue in your various reasons. And then your personal experiences, like I said, most important. Link any question to your personal experience. Many of you have rich personal experiences. You do a lot of things, not just in school, but outside of school as well. You have, you know, leagues that you participate or play in, you have performances that you go for, you have art competitions that you join, you have like, you know, various like activities that you are participating in outside of the school, or you even have groups, right? Or additional courses, or you know, interesting things that you are participating in. Please bring those in as far as is relevant to the question. Okay, remember, the examiner is most interested in you as a person, and what makes you different from the last candidate and the next candidate, right? That is what will score you the points, right? You don't want to sound like everybody else. You want to sound like you. So try to bring in as much of your personal experience, your likes and your dislikes as possible. That's your personal experiences. That's the foundation of the oral response. Then if you can, do some external examples, right? Talk about what you heard about, what you read about, what you watched on TV or on YouTube, what you saw, external things like, you know, numerous studies have shown, I've taught you all of this, right? Come up with at least one or two external sources that support what you have just said. Okay, if you can, right? The easiest is, I heard my friends say, or my cousin was in this last year, or my senior was participating in this competition last year. That way, you can easily bring in other people's experiences as an example. Okay, so an example is an external experience or an external source of information that supports your personal experience, and that strengthens your response by a lot. Okay, and finally, the one that's missing here is, what's missing here? Yeah, correct. Your S, right? Yeah, correct. Y'all can see that it's quite obvious that it's missing, right? Why? Because S deserves a category all in itself. What do I mean? You can do 3 without the S, and you'll probably max out at 16 marks. right, which is the second highest band. If you want to go over to the highest band, which is 17, 18, 19, 20, that's the highest band for content. 17, 18, 19, 20, that's the highest band. How do you get to that highest band? How do you access it? How do you unlock it? Through your Fs, right? And purposely, I put S at the end because it's the one that unlocks the highest band. And if you want to go there, give suggestions for improvement. How can, for example, if I'm asking you about diet, right? And I'm asking you, would you eat what this boy in the picture is eating? And then you go on and say, no, because blah, 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 blah. Then at the end, you can say, my suggestion would be that we draw up a plan so that we will know exactly what we can eat each and every day, or we can have a plan, a diet, or we can, consult a nutritionist or a dietitian to design our diet so that we are more intentional in what we eat. Or I suggest that, in addition to eating properly, we should also incorporate exercise so that we can maintain a healthy body and not just a healthy diet, right? So you can bring in additional ideas that are related to what is being discussed in the question. Don't be afraid to suggest something new, but it must be related, right? Don't suggest something totally unrelated. Okay, so that's suggestion, very powerful. Suggestions and summaries are very powerful because they show the examiner that you're thinking outside the question and therefore are worthy of the top band in terms of content. Okay, so summarizing, right? So when you end your responses, please, I ask all of you not to forget to summarize, right? In summary, in conclusion, in a nutshell, like I said, there are different levels of summary. The most basic level, right? You just tell the examiner, in summary, I would love to go for this performance. You just repeat the question. That's level 1. Basic, but it works. It tells the examiner you are finished with your response. Not too bad, but not the best. Level 2 is when you summarize what you said. In summary, I mentioned that it is very important for us to go for this performance because it is the last performance we will all attend together as primary 6 students. And therefore, we should all make an effort to invite our friends and families to this performance. That's level 2. You give 1 or 2 reasons that you mentioned earlier in your response. Level 3 is, if you have some kind of like 2 or 3 summary points that you can summarize together, and then you can give an overview of what you said for the entire conversation. This is very high level. You must remember exactly what you said in order to do this. And it's a very adult thing. So I don't expect you to go to level 3. Okay, but if you want to, you can try. You can summarize all the main points that you did bring up in the course of the conversation in a 3 or 4 point summary. In summary, I said this, and this, and therefore, I would invite my friends and family for this performance. Okay, you can do that. That's the highest level. That's a true summary. Okay, and your teacher will be very impressed because you are reminding the teacher about exactly what you said, and the teacher may have forgotten him or herself. Okay, so that's very good. Summaries are the best way to end your response and to signal to the examiner you are ready for the next question. Okay, at this point, any questions? I'm coming to the 30-minute mark, right? Okay, all very familiar, right? You all know this, right? You're all experts at it by now, right? But the proof is in the pudding. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, as they say, okay? So it's not just about showing me a nice pudding. I must be able to eat the pudding and I must be able to taste it. In other words, I must see you applying the strategy. And I repeat again, the best way to be perfect in oral is to practice oral. You cannot read it with your eyes. You have to read it with your mouth. You have to read it with your mouth. You have to practice with your mouth. Practice with your father, practice with your mother, practice with your brothers, practice with your dog, practice with your cat, practice with the window, practice with yourself in the mirror, practice in the toilet, practice everywhere, right? Practice everywhere until it's coming out of your pores. And then you can, like in your sleep, you're mumbling in your head, your mother is like wondering why you are mumbling in your sleep. Why are you mumbling in your sleep? You're mumbling trees in your sleep. Okay, it is so ingrained in you that even when you're not conscious, your mouth is like going through the motions of trees. That would be like the best. Okay, that would be like absolute mastery. Okay, so spaced repetition, that's one of the powerful principles of learning. Don't do everything at one sitting. Do a bit now, then 2 hours later, do it again. Then 2 hours later, do it again and again and again. And before long, trees will be growing out of your head. Trees will be growing out of your mouth. Trees will be growing out of your eyes. Okay, so keep on repeating trees to yourself. TREES, right? Have I forgotten experience? Oops. Did I forget an example? Oops. Have I not put in a suggestion? Okay, then I keep on doing it again and again until, I have everything. Then I can grow my trees even higher, right? My example, I want 2 examples instead of 1 now. I want more personal experiences instead of just 1 personal experience now. I want more suggestions, right? But, you know, once I plant the trees, I can make them grow bigger, right? But I got to plant them first, and they have to be really, really well grounded, rooted in my head before I can start to go into detail. Then I can add in your connectors. I can add in your contrasting, causing, consequential connectors. I can, you know, however, you know, that kind of stuff. I can do all kinds of things, but it begins with a mastery of the basics, okay? So I show you now, these are the PSLE picture types in the last 3 years, 2021, 2022, 2023. Do you notice a pattern here? Can you see a pattern? Can you see a pattern or not? Anybody want to tell me what's the pattern? What's the pattern? Nicholas, what's the pattern?
There's a picture, then a poster, then a picture, then a poster, then a picture.
Correct, right? Picture, poster, picture, poster, picture, poster. But some years is poster, picture, poster, picture, poster, picture, right? But it's always one day. So it's day 1 and day 2, right? Because oral, there's 2 days, right? Some of you will do day 1, some of you will do day 2, right? But basically it's picture, poster, poster, picture, poster, picture, picture, poster, right? It's always going to be one day will be about a poster. And then they'll ask you, would you be interested to participate in this activity? Right? It's always, poster is always, are you interested? Okay, then the picture, right, is always, you know, would you be like this person in the picture? Would you do this thing or not? Would you write this diary or not? Would you sleep late or not? Right? Would you, you know, play computer games when you plan to do work or not? It's always about you. So the easiest way to do the picture properly is to always insert yourself into the picture, right? Repeat after me without unmuting. If I were in this situation. Yeah. If I were in this situation. So whether it's a poster or it's the picture, right? You can use this prompt. If I were in this situation, please don't say if I were in the picture. Don't, please. I don't want you to step into some picture and then, you know, be involved in some fantasy-like situation. If I were in this situation, right? So in the case of the poster, if I were in this situation, I would definitely participate in this talk. If it's a picture of a girl sleeping late, if I were in this situation, I would definitely set multiple alarms so that I do not, you know, end up missing one. That kind of stuff. So if I were in the picture, I remind all of you that the picture is like a dish that is cooked by an experienced chef. There are different elements on the plate. Everything on the plate must be consumed and in some kind of order, right? Have you all been to a Japanese restaurant before, right? You will know that there are certain sushi that must be eaten before other sushi, right? For example, in case you didn't know, any sushi that's wrapped with seaweed must be consumed first. Why? Because the seaweed gets soft with exposure to the air. And if you don't eat it in time, by the time you get to it, right, you get soggy, and the chef's hard work at preparing that beautiful sushi will be wasted. So there's a process and there's a sequence to how you eat sushi, you know, right? And then the last one you eat is the one with the fresh fish or the fresh scallop on top, because that one can last the longest, right? Because it doesn't have anything that can soften or degrade with exposure to air. Of course, you eat it all within 5 minutes, but you have a certain procedure. Same for the picture, right? You work yourself sequentially and you work yourself consistently through every element of the picture, consuming everything on the plate. Don't leave anything behind. Is that clear, everyone? Right? Remember, a chef, an experienced chef, has just crafted a work of art for you. Don't leave anything on the table. It will be an insult to the chef. Likewise, when you go through the picture, go through it consistently and remember that someone in SEAB earning huge amounts of money has designed this picture very strategically for this particular exam. Don't waste the effort of this person in designing that picture that way. So for example, in the first picture, look at how the girl is still asleep. Look at how the clock states 6 a.m. and is ringing. Look at how there is a schedule on the board. Look at how there's a picture of some children clustered together like they are in a group. Look at how there's a timetable in the top right-hand corner of that board. Look at how, you know, perhaps the curtain has been drawn such that there is no sunlight coming into the room and therefore cannot wake this person, whatever. Okay, every element of the picture should be considered in your response. and included by connecting to your personal experience. Remember, if I were in this situation, I would. If I were in this situation, I would. If I were in this situation, I would. Okay, so the picture is very often the problem. Why do I say this? Because in all the people I've examined over all these years, right, everybody is in a hurry to move past the picture. Everybody just talk about one, two things, then they start to talk about themselves. Please don't do that. Use every element of the picture, and that will set you apart from the vast majority of responders in oral. Use the picture well. Okay, because remember the first picture, the first three words, look at the. And then, of course, the word picture comes after that. Okay, so remember, there is a reason why they ask you to look at the picture. Don't ignore it. Okay, so that's enough said about the PSLE picture types. Huh? Remember, when you're looking at the picture in the 5 minutes, the 3 minutes, right? Predict. First picture, obviously gonna be about somebody being late, right? Obviously gonna be about, you know, punctuality and tardiness and, you know, responsibility, personal responsibility, that kind of stuff, right? Second picture, obviously gonna be about something about caring for pets, right? About personal responsibility, right? About the importance of, you know, being caring, right? And not being irresponsible, right? Okay, and then the next one is probably obviously going to be, can you all see the theme here? It's all values, right? It's all values, right? It's all some kind of value, right? Okay, right. Then this one is about curiosity and innovation. This one is about, you know, friendship and care, right? So there's connection to values. Try as far as possible to connect to Sin-Min values. You are the most familiar with Sin-Min values, right? Care, respect, responsibility, resilience. Connect that. So just now I said connect to yourself, right? Now it's connect to the school, right? What values does the school advocate? And what values can you connect to your response? That's going to be very powerful. The more values, the better. But please make sure these values are relevant. Okay? Respect is going to be everything to do with racial harmony, friendship, care, that kind of stuff, right? Resilience is going to be everything about overcoming a challenge, right? A difficult situation, right? Coming across, you know, like things that you're not familiar with and overcoming them and learning new things. That's resilience, right? Care has got a lot to do with friendship, has got a lot to do with relationships, a lot to do with respect as well. Okay, so think about values. Okay, care, respect, resilience, and responsibility, connecting to these various pictures. Okay, lastly, coming to the end already. Okay, this is your exam procedure. On that day, you will be split up into a few groups. You will not all be in the same group. In that group, you will be given an examination waiting room. Right? In the waiting room, you are expected to be revising and quiet. You cannot talk and you cannot make noise, because in the next room is the preparation room. The room where, or for some of you will be outside in the corridor, the place where you will wait for 5 minutes with the picture, and a teacher with a stopwatch will time you for 5 minutes. Okay, so after you've gone through the 5-minute preparatory phase, which I've already explained, you will come to the door of the examination room. Please look in before you step in, because sometimes the examiners will still be busy writing down comments and marks from the previous candidate. Do not rush into the room, knock on the door and wait. When the examiners are ready for you, they will look at you and signal you either by nodding or waving to you to come in. At which point you will enter, stand in front of them, do not sit down yet, greet them. If you don't know who they are, just say good morning or good afternoon, sir, or madam, or whatever, good afternoon, teachers, if there are 2 of them, right? And then report your name, class, and PSLE index number. Have you all memorized your PSLE index numbers? Okay. If you still haven't, it's okay. Don't worry. You just carry the card with you, the yellow card, and then read off the card, right? You can put it in your pocket. But remember, on the day of the oral itself, the PSLE oral, you're not allowed to do that, okay? Because you cannot bring any notes with you. Hao Qian, can you stop that, please? All right, sorry for that interruption. Now, can you please not bring the card with you into the exam room if possible? Okay, try to memorize it, right? Because you're not supposed to bring notes in, right? But for prelims, I'm not too sure. I think they may allow you to, because it's such a short notice, right? But try to memorize your PSLE index number, right? So your name, your class, and your PSLE index number, good enough. In PSLE, you don't need to report your class. Okay, you can just report your name and your PSLE index number. It's good enough. They don't need to know your class. Okay, then ask for permission. May I please be seated? And then you sit down and you wait for the examiners instruction to begin. If the examiner does not give you the instruction to begin, do not begin. If you are not sure, just ask, may I begin reading the passage? And if they say no, please hold on, then you wait. Okay, they may still be preparing their, mark sheets or the program for them to record down your score. So be patient, wait for them. When they are ready, they will give you the signal. You may now begin to read the passage. Okay, and then when you read the passage and you finish, pause and wait for them to give you an instruction. You may now turn the paper over. Then when you turn the paper over, then they'll ask you the question for the picture. Okay, so it will be in that procedure. Remember that at the very least, you will need to answer 3 questions for conversation, but it will likely be more than that. At least between 4 to 6 will be what I estimate. 4 to 6 questions regarding the picture and regarding yourself. Remember, the first question is always the picture. Subsequent questions will be about yourself or about broader themes that are covered in that picture. Okay? And then finally, when you're done, right, you stand up, you push the chair in, you thank the examiner. If you can remember, you flip the paper back to the passage again so that it's not showing the picture. And then you bow and exit the room after thanking the examiner. Okay, please go out by the designated exit. Don't go out at the same way you came in and then bump into the next person. Okay, so that's basically the procedure. Do you have any questions about your oral on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Anybody? No? Please remember that on the day of the examination itself, do bring along all notes related to oral. You have the oral booklet, right? We've already gone through as a class. That oral booklet, you can put it into a file. Would you want me to provide a file for you all? Okay. If you have your own file, put it in a separate file. All other oral notes that we have done, you can put it in the same file. Today's notes that I've sent you, do you want me to print it out for you or can you print it out yourselves? Okay, hands up if you need me to print it out for you. Okay, so I'm seeing quite a lot of hands, so I'll probably just print out for everybody. Is that okay? Right? So I'll print it out for everybody. So the samples that I've sent out to you in soft copy, you can start to revise already. The PowerPoint slides that I covered today, you can also start to revise once I've sent it out to you. I will print out all of the following for you. There'll be more notes coming, right? By tomorrow, you'll get another set of notes, okay, for another 3 more topics. Any other questions besides the revision topics? Are y'all feeling familiar enough with the structures now? You should be very familiar, right? 3s and 3Ps, right? Y'all should be quite okay, right? Okay, 3s and 3Ps, y'all should be quite confident, okay? Remember that these structures that you have internalized will put you in a very confident and comfortable position when you respond. Okay, you can fall back on it and it will serve you well. Okay, do not be worried, right? You are already very well prepared. You just need to be aware of the different types of topics that will come up, which is what we're going to do in the next 2 days. Okay? If you have no questions, right, the time is 10:40. I've kind of exceeded by about 10 minutes. Okay? Sorry about that. If you have any queries or questions, you can stay back. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time, right? Book a slot if you haven't already. Okay. That's all from me. Thank you.